So I'm really excited to get started with the cups, and we're going to start with the Ace of Cups and looking at the RWS system. So the card looks like this. And you can see that there's a dove there at the top. So that dove represents purity, it represents hope, it represents spirituality, it represents love, and it's descending down on this cup or chalice. And so there's one other thing there between the dove and the chalice, and that's a circle with like a cross in there. And so that is the connection between spirituality and the material realm. So you have this connection of something coming from spirit and entering the material realm. And so you have that water there splashing out. That water represents emotions, it represents cleansing, it represents rebirth, renewal. And this is an indication that there is something from spirit that is being given to you to renew or to cleanse or to really upgrade you to a new level. And it's a really good positive card because it brings hope. It brings a new feeling of joy, a new feeling of a new chapter or a new part of your life that's going to really make the next part of the journey something very beautiful, something wonderful, and something that you're going to enjoy. So, of course, there are things that we do on our part. So we're receiving, but we also need to give. So anytime we're given something, it enhances us. That's an opportunity for us to use it to help others. So I really love on the Osho Zen how it says receptivity at the bottom. And that's an indication that that chalice is something that is receiving, something that has a very feminine energy, something that is very soft and going to be able to use this emotion, use this new chapter in their life, whatever this might be. It could be a new love coming into your life, but it's something that's going to enhance not just your life, but the life of others around you. But you have to be open to it, and you have to know that you're supported. So if you see the hand that's on the RWS card here, you'll see that it's supporting that chalice, and it's saying, look, you are going to be able to do this. We have your back. This is something that's going to be good for you. And so you might have been coming from a place of, okay, maybe things weren't right in your life. There was a huge part of your journey that was a bit murky and a bit darker and a bit tough to get through. And that's what that lotus represents. So if you look at the lotus on the Osho Zen there, and even on the RWS card, you can see that there. That lotus is a sign of ascension. It's a sign of passing through a point in time where you are going to a new level. You're leveling up. And so that is something that when it opens and flowers, it's showing that you are coming out of a situation that like I said, was a bit more challenging because, lotus flowers, they usually grow in stagnant waters or waters that are a bit darker. And there are just these beautiful things that come out of it. And we have to remember that. We have to remember that sometimes we go through those phases, those dark nights and things like that, but that there are times where you'll be given the opportunity to, okay, you're ready to extend beyond that. So I want to switch and take a look at the Tabula Mundi, which is Thoth based, and point out some things on this card. So first of all, this card is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So it has the energy of those water signs all together. And at the bottom, it says root of the powers of water. So it is a foundation that is solid in all three of these signs. Now, one of the signs does stand out, and that is Cancer, but I'll get to that in a moment. Now, it's broken up, and I've looked at it in several different places, and it can be broken up into three different categories of emotion. So you have the depth of emotion with the Cancer sign. And then with the Scorpio sign, you have the strength of emotion, the power of emotion, and then empathy with the Pisces sign. So if you look at different books, it will give you different categories for these different signs fitting into this whole suit. And I think that, I'm glad that they included the moon because there's a connection between the feminine energy of this cup, of the chalice, and the moon there. And with the water being in there, the moon really does affect the water and kind of controls those emotions. And I think that there's something great to be said about the ability to harness the power of emotion, to harness the depth of emotion, and really be able to apply it to your life and to help others from your experiences, and that you are ready to really impart that out. And so you've been given this sort of level, or this ability to really bring that joy of those learning experiences to the world. And looking at this card, you can also see that upside down triangle, which is the symbol for water. And I like how they embedded that on this card. And again, I mentioned that Cancer was the focus of this card. And if we look at the coffee tarot here, we can see, I think this is a really cute image, but you can see that there is a crab that's giving a cup of coffee to someone coming out of the water. And I think that this is just a really sweet image of being able to take that depth of emotion and coming from the ocean and exchanging your experiences and your knowledge to help someone else and to really brighten their day or their morning. I love how the sun's rising there. This is just an awesome card from this deck. So the next deck that I want to take a look at is from Tarot of the Spirit. And I haven't used this deck in my videos before. I haven't really talked about it a lot and done a review of it, because this is just one of those decks that I'm trying to really focus on and study on before I kind of implement it in here. Because look at this book. It's just heavily based in Kabbalah, and that's something that I have been intensely looking at and really putting together. And I want to, well, first of all, on this card, I love that it says open channel, right? Open channel. And that's really powerful, because a lot of times we get to a point where we are open and we're ready to really connect with spirit and really receive some information that other people need to hear. It's like a frequency that we've kind of tuned in, and now we're ready. And it's something that sometimes we have to develop throughout time, but we get to a certain point where all of a sudden that frequency hits and we are now really getting it. We're getting the picture. You know, we get the big picture, and we're ready to really talk about some things in a different way. So I want to read a part here about this particular card. It's called the One of Water in this deck, and there's a little section here that covers the words of Luca Cuperi, and it's reflections on the One of Water, open channel. I sense the One of Water as an offering, as heavier in steel, like a receptive mirror whose surface ripples with every outside inspiration. The One of Water opens itself and offers nourishment in a container to hold whatever it brings to you. It is deep, dark, mysterious, beautiful, and still. It is waiting, inviting, reflecting back, passive and accepting all, loving all. It is a drop of water, a mother, fullness, clear, pure love. I feel this card in my womb. I spent about a week with this card and felt it soften my being. A wave of kindness came into my daily life, along with a willingness to completely accept what life brings to me on a daily basis. I am love and creation. And that really has this really cool Venus energy, and Venus is also connected with this card. So this card is actually Venus in the water signs. So Venus in Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So now the last card I'm going to look at here is from the Science Tarot. And I think that this is a beautiful perspective on this card. And I like to give different perspectives to kind of bounce different things at you to really, I guess, solidify the meaning of the card from my perspective. So I think that this card right here, it shows a cell, and that cell is taking in or engulfing a bacteria. And this is something called endosymbiosis, where you take something in and it becomes a symbiote, or something that works with you, and it becomes a part of the entire system as DNA is exchanged. And what this is talking about is the evolution of life on this planet. So it has this watery beginning. And so these bacteria and these cells, so you have bacteria, which are prokaryotes, which are single cells, and then you have the multicellular organisms, which are eukaryotes, that are together in this environment. And usually when something is engulfed and taken in, there are these things called lysosomes inside of the cell that actually digest these materials and break them down and use their components.
Lysosomes are membrane-bound vesicles that contain hydrolytic enzymes. When particles such as viruses or bacteria are ingested by phagocytosis, the lysosome fuses with the particle-containing vesicle, called a phagosome, and delivers the hydrolytic enzymes. Lysosomes also fuse with organelles, such as old mitochondria.
But there are cases where things are taken in and then they are utilized and they become a part of the cell and they enhance it and make it better and sort of level up that cell. And what happened was that these single-celled prokaryote organisms that were swimming around, mainly bacteria, were taken in by these cells, and they're now known as mitochondria. And the mitochondria are providing power for the cell. So now these cells are enhanced with this new power source that allows them to be more mobile. It allows them to utilize energy more efficiently, and it just takes them to a new level. And so everything goes much faster from that point on. And we get this evolution of everything taking place. And the bottom of this card says integration. So it's, if we think about it on a spiritual level, integrating the spirit with the material, that cross sign at the beginning of the RWS card that I told you about, that connection, right? That integration of that is now leveling up you on a spiritual level. So I want to switch gears here and talk about the element that I want to talk about, which is cesium. And cesium is very receptive to water. It takes in water in a very reactive, explosive way. Just like that cup exploding on the RWS card, that's what happens when you put cesium in water. And it just takes this water in, it grabs onto that energy of that water and just pushes it out, and there's this explosive release of power. And the name cesium itself means blue. And so it has that blue feel to it when we look at its spectrum. And it was one of the first elements where we looked at the actual spectrum of it. And we were using mineral water to really look at that element because it had certain particles of it within it. And it's a soft metal. It's the softest metal that is on the periodic table. It's a very soft and more watery metal. So if you put it in your hand and it reaches the temperature of your hand, it'll actually just melt in your hand. It's a metal that just melts in your hand. So it's very soft, very soothing energy to this metal. However, if your hands are wet, it'll actually react with the water on your hands because it is just a very watery element, a water drawn element. And it just fit with this whole, the whole energy of the Ace of Cups. So that's something I wanted to mention. And, like I usually do, I usually bring a little bit of science into my videos here. So with the Science Tarot and with that particular element, but I want to go ahead and wrap things up with some crystals. I haven't done that in a little while, but I thought this would be a good one because there are a lot of crystals that I feel will give you that connection between spirit and help to really work with during a time where you feel like you're really making that connection, that there's a time where you really need to step up and do some things, and that there's a lot of hope right now for you to do that. So one of the crystals that I think is really good for that is Celestite. As the name suggests, it's a very powerful crystal for meditating when you want to make a connection and we really need to understand something and get some sort of guidance. And so that is a great crystal. I just love this particular raw feel of this one. So it has that more crystal-like raw feel to it, and it's just a beautiful crystal overall. Most blue crystals are really some of my favorites. I have quite a few of them. And then another one is blue calcite. So blue calcite just has that smooth, really waxy texture to it, but just a really much richer blue that I love. That really, it's kind of a sky blue, and it really, really does match that color of cesium. So it's just a lovely crystal that I think would be great to also connect with the throat chakra here too, if you want to be expressive and express your feelings. Lepidolite, which I don't have, and actually I was going to go by a crystal store today and see if I could find some lepidolite and add that to the crystals that I have and use. So that's one that I also highly recommend because lepidolite actually has cesium in it as an impurity, so it enhances it with that as well. So that's a great, and actually one of my crystals I think would be a go-to for working with connecting with spirit here. Azurite is great. I just love that deep blue of this crystal, and it, how it bounces off with that green, that color palette of green and blue. I really love that. So it almost has like a mossy look to it, but just has a really good earthy feel to it. And I just love this one for working with the energy of spirit. And also blue kyanite. Blue kyanite is just a very wonderful crystal, whether you get I have like a wand that's actually tumbled here or polished, and then I have a rougher one that I got from James from Lepidolite. Check out his shop. He has some great crystals there, and I highly recommend it. You can check out his YouTube channel. He puts a lot of them on there, so that's awesome. And then sodalite as well. So I don't really have a lot of sodalite, but I think I only have this one small pendant of it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share about the Ace of Cups. I'm glad to really get started on the aces. I felt like I was on the wands for such a long period of time, and that fire energy was great, and I learned a lot going through that whole suit. But the soft, emotional connection that I have with the cups is going to be a wonderful new chapter here to really kick off things. And I think it's the perfect time for that, to really get into the cups and just feel the spirit of that right now. So I'm excited about that. And I think that this will be a wonderful journey through all these cards. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Will. This is Atypical Tarot. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.